Segment 4 of 7 for today. Definitions and my aim. Everybody gets to say they have their own aim. That's fine. But let's talk about definitions and terminology because, oh my goodness, that is difficult and troubling in 2020. And as a person who both likes to have and thinks we need to have dialogue, this can prevent it. So let's talk about definitions for a moment. And there may be something here new that you never heard before. It's possible. Let's deal with just hot right off the top. Racism. Merriam-Webster defines racism this way. Number one, a belief that race is the primary determinant of human traits and capacities, and that racial differences produce an inherent superiority of a particular race. Definition 2, a doctrine or political program based on the assumption of racism, as defined in number 1, and designed to execute its principles, a political or social system founded on racism. Definition 3, racial prejudice or discrimination. Now, for most people my age and older, and maybe just for a majority of people still, this is the definition. And so when we hear or read people say things like it's impossible for a minority, or specifically for black people, to be racist, this makes no sense, because by this definition, anybody can be racist. Nobody should be, but anybody can be. And so this is one of those terms that there is a new prevailing, maybe, definition, and we need to be careful to listen to what people are actually saying. So, racism is a structure built to oppress marginalized groups. It does not go both ways. So the dominant power cannot express racism. In other words, white people do not experience racism. There is no such thing as quote-unquote reverse racism. This is closer to I'll call it newer definition that is often being used today in print, in media, certainly in social media, and it is different. Now, if you're going by this type of definition, then those statements make more sense. And so this would be more of what previously we would have referred to as systemic racism, or organizational racism, or some other such thing. And nowadays, people are just calling it racism, but only talking about that which is systemic, only talking about that which is baked into the system, and only talking about that which is structural. Now, you have two choices at this point. You can either argue about what a term should mean, or you can interact with people, make sure you understand what it is they mean, and make sure they understand what it is you mean. And when you get there, then you still may have disagreements, but you're at least capable to speak to one another. And I think that's infinitely more important and more valuable. And this is not the only term that's difficult to define. I'll say briefly, the slogan, the hashtag Black Lives Matter instantly infuriates so many people. And again, there is a wide variety of what people actually intend to express when they say that. Sometimes it's just solidarity with a community. Sometimes it is broader themes in a movement. There is an organization. It started out just as a social media comment and became a slogan, became a hashtag, and then there was an organization, and that organization has been open and vocal that their interests lie beyond the scope of, I think, the original slogan. And so today many people don't feel comfortable because the slogan is so tied with the organization, while other people want to use a slogan because they're just still concerned about black lives, and not just from death, but just quality of black lives, respect, loving neighbor. And so again, you can either argue about what something does and tell other people what it is they mean when they say things, or call me crazy. You could love your neighbor and respect them enough to listen and ask. Because that's the only way that we can dialogue, that we can discuss. That's the only way we can understand each other. And I think that's what we're supposed to do. So, individual, systemic, what's my aim? I remember when I was in school, there was a slogan. It probably came about long before that, but it was used in the environmental realm. They said, think globally, act locally. I do believe there are some large systemic issues. I do not deny that. I wouldn't necessarily agree with what all those are or what the fixes are with everyone else who says there are issues, but I think there are. I think that's pretty obvious. I can't directly impact that. What I can do is in my home, with my children, with my friends, with my family, in my church, in my community, I can pay attention and I can try to be an advocate for this respectful dialogue, for clarity, for understanding, and call out those things which are impediments to it. And so that's my aim. I'm focusing in on me and us, and I hope that you'll do the same.